Welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, August the 20th, 2014, show number 1021. I'm your host, Shawn King. Thank you guys very much for joining us, whether you're tuned in via the archive or listening in live to the show. I appreciate each and every one of our listeners. On tonight's show, as always, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com. I'm going to try to get Jim to break some news and see if I can't trick him into doing it. It's tough. He's pretty good. I'm going to try to trick Jim into breaking some news. We'll talk about Steve Ballmer's resignation from the board of directors of Microsoft. Is this news? Is this a big deal? Is this important anyway? We'll talk to Jim about that. Also, Apple, after their 7-for-1 stock split, broke 100. I don't know if they're still over 100 today. I bet they aren't. Let me just, Apple stock price. Do a Google search for that real quick and see what Apple stock price is at. Yeah, they're still at 100. They're just barely over. 57 cents over $100. So almost a record high or damn close to a record high. It broke that magical $100 barrier. Does it matter? Does it really make a difference to you, me, and the chair? If you're an investor in Apple, obviously, yes, you want to see the stock price go as high as you can. But is it really a news item? We'll talk to Jim about that and his thoughts and opinions about that. Also, we're going to talk about this ice bucket challenge. You've all heard about this. You've seen this on Facebook, and you've seen it on Twitter, and you've seen it all over the place. Maybe just the natural curmudgeon in me where I want to say, okay, stop. Just stop. Just don't do it anymore. It's played out. It's dumb to begin with. Just donate the money. Stop pouring water on your head. Just donate money to whatever charity you feel like, whether it's ALS or Puppy Rescue or Cancer or Shawn or whatever it might be. There's no need, this circle jerkness of this. Here, watch me do this. Well, here's money. I don't want to watch you do it. Just donate the damn money. We'll talk to Jim about that on the show. We're also going to be talking about the P&E, or state fairs in general. Here in Vancouver, we have this thing called the Pacific National Exhibition, pne.ca, if you're curious. And it is very much like your American state fairs. Now, I don't know if Marcus, I know, is in South America. I think he's in Brazil. Do other countries have these kinds of state fairs, where they have the rides, the midway kind of thing with all the rigged frickin' games, hit a bottle and win a prize kind of thing worth 50 cents. You spend $40 to try to win the damn prize. So they have the rides and the games of chance and they'll have music, and then they have what I like is the in Canada and in America it's called the 4-H. It's the farm kids. Farm kids come to the big city and they show us their steers, and they show us their cows, and they show us their horses and pigs and ducks and chickens and bunny rabbits and all that kind of stuff. That's my favorite part of the fair. And then they have a marketplace, the world center of crap. The ShamWow people are there, and the Swiffer people are there, and the knife slicer, it cuts the dices, the Julien's guys are there. I love watching those guys. I never buy a damn thing. I would never buy any of that crap, but I love watching those people. That it's not hucksterism per se. It's awfully close to it. But the patter, and these guys have practiced this stuff. They've been doing it for years and years and years, and it's fascinating to watch them. I really love watching them sell. I hate selling myself, both in the big picture and in every sense of that word, but I love watching other good salespeople do their shtick, especially when I know it's shtick. I tweeted this on Saturday. There was a guy there selling a shower head. And I've got a shower head that's got no water pressure. It's like being spit on. It's like, it's awful. It's like worse. It's terrible. In Canmore, I had a shower head that would strip paint. This thing was like a high pressure water hose, like a fire hose sticking out of the wall. It hurt. So I've been looking for a different, better shower head. And so this one guy was pimping this shower head, and he claimed that the shower head, and I swear to God he said this, because it had some sort of things inside. It was a clear plastic shower head. And there were things inside of it that he claimed removed cell phone radiation from your body. I said, what? It removes cell phone radiation. I said, bullshit. Stop right there. Stop selling me. You're done. I want a shower head. It might be the shower head. I don't want to hear that shtick, because that's terrible. That's complete bullshit. There's no way that water can do that. It's not like cell phone radiation sticks to your face and you can just rub it off with a cloth. That's just ridiculous. Utterly idiotic. But I didn't buy that shower head because one of the problems is that you want to change the water pressure, you have to take the shower head apart and put it back together again. It's just dumb. So, but yeah, I love watching around that. It's called the marketplace. So again, other countries, you have these kinds of state fair type things. And for you folks who do have a state fair, what's your favorite part about it? Do you remember going as a kid and then maybe going as an adult, and has your favorite parts changed? For example, when I was a kid, I loved the Tilt-A-Whirl. Loved the Tilt-A-Whirl. It was my favorite ride. I don't know why. All it did was spin around in circles. It wasn't much better than, the Disneyland teacup. They had teacups there too, which were really cute. But it wasn't, as a kid, it wasn't the carousel. It wasn't bumper cars. It wasn't the scrambler. It wasn't any of that stuff. I like the scrambler too. But the Tilt-A-Whirl, for some reason, it was always my favorite ride. Back home in Nova Scotia, we didn't have roller coasters because we didn't have a set amusement park area. So this was they drive in and set things up. So they didn't set up roller coasters. So I was never on a roller coaster until I was of college age, getting ready to move from Halifax to Vancouver to go to college. And my first roller coaster was at Canada's, I think it's still called this, Canada's Wonderland outside of Toronto. And at the time, it was billed, if I remember correctly, Canada's either first steel roller coaster or Canada's largest steel roller coaster or Canada's something steel roller coaster. And it had a loop in it. I don't remember if it was a 360-degree loop or a twisty loop. And the girl I was moving to Vancouver with, she was from New York City. And so she said, let's go on the roller coaster. And I'm like, I didn't say this to her. I've never been on a roller coaster. Oh my God, this is going to be terrifying. And a lot of folks don't realize this. The first hill of a roller coaster is always going to be the highest because roller coasters are gravity fed. So you put the energy into the roller coaster, dragging it up this hill, and then the energy takes it through the loops. Or takes it through the roller coaster. So we get in the roller coaster, and she wanted to sit in the front. So we waited in line to sit in the front. We get in the front, and that bar comes down, and she says, put your hands up. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I put my hands up as we're going up the incline. Put my hands up. Went over that first drop. My hands came down onto a death grip on that bar. I white-knuckled it for the next 30, 40 seconds. Like, and so we go there, and again, I was at a loop-to-loop or a corkscrew, and we get off the other end, and I was like, oh my God, that was so much fun. Let's do it again. I turned and looked to the girlfriend, and she had this look of utter horror on her face. Just appall came over her face. And I'm looking at her and went, what's wrong? She said, I don't believe you. I said, what are you talking about? She said, you screamed like a girl the entire time. I said, that was me? Because I could hear the screaming. I didn't know it was coming out of my mouth, though. I had no idea that I just screamed like a small child for the entire roller coaster ride. And so now I learned I don't scream anymore. I curse. I will just say the F word for the whole trip. But yeah, first time on a roller coaster, screamed like a little girl. And then out here in Vancouver, I don't know if they still have it, but in Vancouver they had a roller coaster. I want to think it was called Mighty Mouse or Mickey Mouse or something Mouse. But it was only a two-person car. So if you're watching the video, imagine my iPhone's the car. And so four-person, two seats. But the neat thing about it was the wheels of the roller coaster were in the middle, set back. They weren't in the front like a car. They were set, if you imagine a car, like behind the driver's seat. So as the roller coaster would go around a curve, it would go out over the curve before it turned. And so it felt like you were going to go straight off the curve. But it would go and then turn on you. And it wasn't a very large coaster. It was a fairly small one. But it was really scary and freaky. Really, really cool. And the Peony has a wooden roller coaster. And wooden roller coasters are cool because they're made out of wood. They make a lot more noise than a steel coaster. And they shake more. And they're designed to shake back and forth more than a steel coaster. They're always smaller, not as fast. So yeah, the roller coasters are I've always wanted to go to Cedar Point, Iowa. No, Cedar Point, Ohio, where I think they got like 37 coasters. Didn't go on any rides this time. Had my mini donuts. Got to have my mini donuts. I don't know if they have mini donuts in other state fairs anywhere else in the world or in Canada or the U.S. But yeah, I absolutely had to get my mini donuts and I had. They come with 12 in a pack. I had 48 mini donuts in one sitting. Just because you got to eat them hot. You can't if you can't take mini donuts home, because mini donuts when you get them home just taste of despair. just taste of pitiful despair. You got to eat them right there. And then we had delicious smoked meat barbecue from apparently Canada's #1 award-winning world Canadian champion barbecue guy. Really good. I want to go back. I'm going to go back hopefully next few days or weeks to take pictures at night. I want to do some low light photography. So we'll talk about state fairs more on the show. I'll stop at Groupon. And do you guys use Groupon? Email, as always, on air at yourmaclifeshow.com. Do you use Groupon? Do you go to Groupon.com? Do you get their emails? Do you buy their deals? What do you think of Groupon? I'm having a bear of a time dealing with the folks at Groupon. Just a freaking nightmare trying to get an issue solved with them of the way they write their Groupon copy for the Starting Point Photography seminars that we're going to be doing starting in October here in Vancouver. We've got 8 shows or 8 classes to teach in the month of October and November at various locations around the city. And the easiest way to do this is through Groupon. They've got a mailing list of, they say, 500,000 people in the Vancouver area. And it doesn't cost us anything up front. Many folks may not know that. The Groupon makes their money by whatever Groupon price you pay, Groupon gets half that money. So if it's a $50 deal, Groupon gets $25. But the good thing about Groupon is they pay every 2 weeks. They don't hold all the money until the end of the Groupon deal. They pay every 2 weeks up until the end of the Groupon deal. So you'll get money coming in on a regular basis without any money going out, except for us, in our case, what we had to pay for the rooms. So Groupon's going to hopefully work out well for us if we can just get through the issues that we're having with Groupon. If anyone knows a grown-up at Groupon, please email me, Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. As I said in the pre-show, we're giving away $50 in tonight's show. I'll explain why later in the show. Also, completely blown away by the response to last week's show. We'll talk more about this later on. We don't want to do this depression of the week thing, but we'll talk a little bit more at the end of the show. We'll do it the same way we did last week. We'll end the show, and then if you want to continue to talk some more afterwards, and that's when we'll do the prize draw. So if you haven't entered our contest, go to your show, go to the website at yourmaclifeshow.com. Top of the page, Friends of YML, entry form. Fill that entry form out. It sends me an email. I drop it into our virtual hat, and you have a chance to win $50 on tonight's show. If you're a subscriber to Your Mac Life, don't worry about it. Subscribers get that done automatically. All you got to do is subscribe to the show. You can subscribe for $2, $5, $10, $15, whatever it is, a month that you would like, and we drop your name in the virtual hat on your behalf each and every night of the show. So I'd prefer if you did it that way, frankly. It's just easier for me. So later on, we'll be talking about Groupon. We'll be talking about Steve Ballmer. We'll be talking about the Pacific National Exhibition. But up next, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com. This is Your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. This is Your Mac Life. I am Shawn King, joined on our phone now by our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Mr. Dalrymple, how you doing?
I have to pee.
Yep. Well, thanks for sharing.
Well, you asked.
You couldn't have done this beforehand?
Man,
You know,
bad planning.
It's 5:45 p.m. Pacific time. It's like, what, the last 5 years? 6 years? Jesus, dude. Put it in your calendar. Go pee before you talk to Shawn. Not that freaking hard. Hey, let's talk about the Steve Ballmer story. I'm still trying to figure out whether or not, for those folks who don't know, Steve Ballmer resigned from the board of directors of Microsoft in order to focus on other things. It's interesting to hear the reaction about this, about whether this is a PR stunt or whether good riddance or whatever it might be. How much of this story do you think is so many people have such a visceral dislike of Ballmer that if this story was about anybody else besides Ballmer, it wouldn't be a story at all? How much do you think this is because it's Ballmer?
Well, I think if anybody were an ex-CEO that just stepped down and was resigning from the board, I think it would probably be a story, but probably not so much as this one was.
Yeah.
The story, like when Steve stepped down and then he stepped down from the board, I mean, there was an overwhelming feeling of sadness.
Yeah, sure.
But with Ballmer, it just seems like people are pushing him out the door, like, okay, shut up now and just get going.
That's a good riddance to bad rubbish.
I think people are just tired of him, because he hasn't done anything in a decade or more. He hasn't ever done anything.
Yeah.
And I think, that's probably the reason why he's not CEO anymore. But
True.
Now he's going on to ruin a basketball team. So, there's always that. But I think that people expect more from a CEO than what Ballmer delivered. And, you can look at stock, you can look at money and profits and all of that kind of stuff. And, when I look at Ballmer's letter about to the new CEO announcing his retirement, the thing that stands out to me is that Ballmer said that he needed to focus on monetization of, enterprise and things like that. Yep. And the first thing that jumped out at me is, when is the last time you heard Apple talk about money?
Yeah.
You don't. And that's, to me, that's a big indicator of how Apple and Microsoft are different. Of course, during the conference call, the earnings call, you'll hear Tim talk about a product mostly, but yes, money. And Luca, of course, that's Luca's whole job. I mean, he looks at every penny. So, but other than that, you don't see Apple say, we're going to make this new product and we think we're going to make a shitload of money.
Yeah, that's right.
No, Apple says we're going to make a new product and we think we'll be able to change the world.
Yep.
Because this thing is magical and wonderful and everything else. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference. Whereas, Ballmer said you need to monetize the enterprise market.
Yeah.
Well, Apple expects to make money. The board expects Apple to make money.
Right.
The shareholders expect Apple to make money, and Apple expects to make money.
Yep.
Tim and Phil and Johnny, and they all expect that the products that they produce are going to make money, and not just a little bit of money either, a lot of money. But they focus on, let's put this product out, let's make it the best that we can, as economical as we can, but with the best parts and everything else. And there we have it. There's our product and there's our strategy, and it's going to sell like hotcakes because it's good. And I just don't. I mean, it's not just Ballmer's words; it's Ballmer's action.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the Zune and you have the Kin, and you have all of these products that were just awful. So it's more than his words. you can say, well, that's his parting. No, he's done the same thing for the last 20 years.
Yeah, that's right. I think part of the problem too is I do believe part of it is we just have this reaction to Ballmer. But reading the letter, one of the things he said, I had not spent any time really contemplating my post-Microsoft life until my last day with the company. Bullshit! First of all, if that's true, you're a moron. If in fact you didn't think about it until the last day, you're an idiot. And secondly, I don't believe for a second that's true, which means you're lying to us in your go away letter.
Yeah. Well, the day that the board fired him, he was thinking about what he was going to do.
I think he was thinking a good 6 months ahead of time because he knew it was going to happen. I think that
Sure.
him saying that is just a blatant lie, or you're a blatant moron, and both are equally as bad.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, you can't decide, just one day, okay, I'm going to ruin a national basketball team. So, you don't just decide that one day. You think about it. And you think, okay, what type of business would I like to destroy next? Maybe basketball. Why not?
Let's get black folks pissed off at me.
Entire franchise.
Although, to be fair, it's the Clippers. They're not too far from ruin to begin with, okay? I know you're not a basketball fan. I am, and it's the Clippers, and they're usually hanging on by a thin thread. The other aspect of this of his letter that just cracked me up was him saying, let me just find it. The fall will be hectic between teaching a new class and the start of the NBA season. Dude, that's nothing. Okay? That's absolutely, you're the owner of the team. You're not running the team. You're not the coach.
Yeah.
The equipment guy will be busier than you during the NBA season. What you do is you sign the checks and you show up to the games. Done. That's it. No more.
And please don't wear a basketball outfit to the game.
Oh God, please don't. Please don't. But then teaching in class. Well, he's going to have some teaching assistant write up everything for him. Being a board member is not that big a deal, okay? It's really not. You sit down and for the most part, you rubber stamp what the CEO says. You collect your $1,000 per diem, whatever it might be, and that's it. Being a board member is not a hard thing to do. That's the other aspect about this that I don't think people are talking about is his reasoning is completely specious. I don't believe for a second that he's stepping down from the board voluntarily because being a board member of any company is really not that difficult.
I think it's important at this point, in my opinion, it's important that Microsoft get rid of the old. If they have any hope at all, I mean, and unfortunately for them, no matter what Ballmer does and how badly he ruins the NBA, it's always, the stories are always going to be ex-Microsoft CEO.
Yep, that's right.
It's not going to be some schmuck in Seattle, Steve Ballmer. It's always going to be ex-Microsoft CEO.
Yep,
and
right.
I'll make sure of that because I'll write that.
at every opportunity, yeah. And then, the things the other things he says in the letter, he takes pains to point out, I hold more Microsoft shares than anyone other than index funds. That's just digging a little knife in there, isn't it?
It was to me like, don't mess with me, or I'll sell off.
Exactly. So
the letter back to him was short and sweet.
Yep.
Yes, thank you. You've done a wonderful job. Now goodbye.
Yeah, that's right. I think
please lose my email address.
That's right. Yeah, I firmly believe that this was arranged, say, a month ago. And it was the CEO of Microsoft hopefully quietly going to Ballmer and saying, you know what, I need to start house cleaning. Because remember, that's what Steve Jobs did when he came back to Apple too. He house cleaned the old board of directors and got rid of the old deadwood as he described it. And I think that's exactly what the new guy is doing. He's getting rid of the old guard of the board of directors. And I think we'll see more of this. I think we'll see more in the next 2 months or 3 months or 4 months of old board directors going, I want to spend more time with my family. Yeah, because again, like being a member of the board of directors, you meet once a month maybe, and you sit around a big conference table and you get fed coffee in Danish, and the CEO says, I want to do this, and you go, okay. Because the board of directors, for the most part, don't disagree with the CEO. If you disagree with the CEO, then you fire his ass. So the board of directors is, for most companies, fairly rubber stampish.
Well, I think that if it's a good board, I think that Steve put in a good board. I think that Tim is continuing that. They actually have some very smart people on their board.
Sure, yeah.
That have experience in business and in retail or whatever it is, that can actually offer some advice.
Yep.
So in that way, I think that the board can be helpful. But yeah, basically the CEO comes and says, we're going to do this. And they either say, no, you're fired,
yep,
or yes, okay. And I don't know who would have the kahunas to say that to Steve, but he cleaned house, and rightfully so.
Let's talk about Apple has broken through the $100 barrier share price. This was, what's that?
Yeah.
This was anticipated. I think it was expected for the most part. This is something we knew was going to happen eventually, if not this soon. Certainly was going to happen eventually. What Apple wanted it to happen. A lot of folks, as confusing as the stock market is, one of the things I do understand about the stock market is there are mental barriers at certain stock prices, usually round numbers. And $100 per share price was a mental barrier for Apple. The stock market just popped above, and it means unless something significant happens, it's unlikely it's going to drop down below that. Apple stock, most stock goes up over time, and unless something remarkably bad happens to the company, I think we'll stay over 100. That being said,
well, Apple usually goes down when they make money, so
that's right,
there you go.
Exactly. That being said, is the $100 barrier really a big deal to the average person, or is this only something financial nerds should care about?
Yeah, I mean, I don't pay much attention to stock price, to be honest,
yep,
because it goes up and down based on the silliest things. It goes up on rumors and down on reality, and
yep,
it just doesn't make any sense at all when Apple or any company for that matter can report record sales, record revenue, and a record profit, and stock drops. You think, what?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
What are you people thinking? So I don't pay much attention to it. Maybe I don't fully understand the stock market. Clearly, I guess I don't, because I would think stock would go up under those conditions.
Yep.
But then again, I would think that Amazon should make money too. But,
yeah, really.
So maybe I really don't understand business. But I think that this is a significant milestone because they just did a 7-to-1 split.
Yep.
And I think that under the 7-to-1 split, they came in at about $90.
Yeah.
And I think what they were looking for, without any new products now, they came out and they broke the $100 barrier.
Yep.
$10 when your stock is $90 is a significant
yep,
rise.
Yep.
So does the average user care? Probably not. Should they? Probably not. But it's a significant thing for Apple and for the stock that it did that. I mean, most people aren't running out today and selling all their stock. They're going to hold on to it like they always have. But breaking $100 was a good thing for them.
The fact that it's at $100 is good too. For one of the reasons why Apple did this was to lower the stock price, so smaller investors couldn't get involved, and not just the giant index funds and hedge funds and pension funds, things like that. At $700, I can't afford it. At $100, well, I still can't afford it. But at $100, more people could afford it. More people, if they wanted to put it in their own personal funds or their own stock market thing, or just to have a share. It was certainly more likely. So for one reason, that it's good for Apple. But I think overall, you're right. I think overall, especially Apple, these kinds of stock increases and rises and things like that just don't make a whole lot of difference because the stock market has shown they don't understand Apple.
It also shows that, and again, without any major product announcements, that Tim went out with a goal to get more people involved and lower the stock price and make it more accessible, and it worked. What has Tim done wrong since he's been there?
Yep.
The stock price has gone through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
All the products are selling well.
Yep.
with the exception last quarter of the iPad had a little downturn.
But even that sold millions of copies. I mean,
no, and that's true. But you would kind of expect the iPad to continue on the upswing. But there's probably all kinds of market factors out there that would affect that. So, but really, Tim hasn't had a blunder.
That's right.
And, it's not that we expect him to, but he is probably the most high-profile CEO in the world.
Agreed.
So everybody is just waiting for a blunder.
I think because of, and we don't know anything about Tim Cook, but we get the impression that he's a very measured kind of guy. He is not a hothead kind of guy that he knows exactly what he's going to do from moment to moment and from quarter to quarter. I think maybe that attitude is being understood better by Wall Street, where Apple can continue to be successful from a stock market point of view without being forced to announce new products. We know they're going to announce new products sometime in September or early October. That's just their pattern. That's not a rumor announced. That's Apple's pattern, and it has been for several years now. So maybe the stock market is building that in to the stock price. Regardless, Jim's right. Apple has done nothing significantly wrong from a company point of view. I mean, the market may have slapped them around with the iPad a teeny tiny little bit, but from a company point of view, this is a rock-solid company that is visibly branching out into areas it wasn't in the previous 20 years under Steve Jobs. I think is really interesting. This whole thing of social media and bringing on these marketing people from other companies and all this kind of stuff, this is all building towards something. There's something going to happen that's going to make us all go, oh my God, that's why they did this 6 months ago. That's why they did this a year ago. It's building up to this moment.
To me, there's one of three things that Apple could have done when Steve died. They could have continued on just with what Steve had done and, tried to live out their lives on, iPhone and iPad. They didn't do that. They could have gone completely the opposite and done all kinds of crazy stuff that, people would sit back and look at and say, what are they thinking?
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're going to release fingernail clippers, Apple fingernail clippers, all kinds of stuff. They could have done all kinds. They didn't do that. Or the third thing and final thing is that they could have made good, measured decisions based on what they felt would make new markets for Apple. And to me, it appears that is the one that they've chosen. And I think that's the best choice. So they are continuing on the path of Steve and, the products that he introduced, but they're continuing to push forward in other markets, not just making the markets that Steve already introduced better, but looking at new markets as well. Yep. And only time will tell how that works. Will they end up with very successful new products because of the decisions that they're making now? We'll see. Nobody knows. I mean, the analysts can say all day that they know if it's going to be successful. They're full of shit.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't.
Yep.
Analysts have repeatedly said that every iteration of the iPhone since iPhone 1, including iPhone 1, was going to be a failure.
That's right.
And it's never been a failure. So,
right.
I don't put much weight. I mean, there are a few analysts out there that I personally like, and I enjoy their work. Horace.
Yep.
Ben Beharon.
Yep.
And Benedict Evans.
Mm-hmm, sure.
Three guys that I really enjoy their work. I enjoy reading what they write.
Yep.
I enjoy arguing with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's great stuff. I don't argue with Horace because he pulls out charts. And
I know. Yeah, he cheats.
Yeah.
He pulls out stats and stuff.
As soon as Horace reaches for his iPad, I order another beer.
That's right. We've seen a lot.
But, no, I mean,
Sorry, go ahead.
Those guys are really smart, and I think they're different than normal, like IBC type analysts.
Yeah.
These guys use their brains and think about things.
Yeah. Let's move on. We've seen a lot in the last, week or so about this ice bucket challenge. First of all,
Yep.
Jim, have you been challenged yet? Would you take the ice bucket? If I challenge you right now, would you take the ice bucket challenge?
Yeah, but you can't because you haven't been challenged.
All right. Let's say someone challenges you. Would you do it?
Well, it's for a good cause, isn't it?
Really?
Why not?
So you'd bow to that kind of peer pressure, and so would you? Now, the way it's supposed to work is you're supposed to do it either or. Either dump the bucket of water on your head or pay X number of dollars, I think it's $100 in this case, to the Amyotrophic Lateral Sclerosis, the Lou Gehrig Disease Association of the United States or Canada. That's what it traditionally has meant. Now, folks are being nice; they're dumping and paying. So, if someone challenges you, would you dump? Would you pay, or would you dump and pay?
I'd probably do both.
I would just if I had the money, don't anyone challenge me. I ain't got a dime to my name. I would just pay. I would just pay and tell everyone to shut up. I find the circle jerkness of the videos of the ice bucket challenge to be really annoying to me. It's gotten to the point now where so many people are doing it. It's like, here, look at me, donate to charity. Psh, shut up, just do it.
I get it, but when the other side to that is when a charity can have this much publicity, it can't be a bad thing.
True.
I mean, they have normal people, they have CEOs of companies, they have stars, they have all of these people that are willing to do this. I think that for them, this is a good thing, and that can't be bad.
I don't know if you saw, but
I mean, every charity on the face of the earth wishes they had this type of publicity.
I don't know if you saw, but I got into a bit of a pissing match on Twitter with Kara Swisher of Recode. She actually called me a jerk because she tweets.
Well, you are.
Well, yeah, I am, but not for the reason that she said. That's what ticked me off. Was that, yeah, Kara, you're right, I am, but not in this case. And then the thing was, she posted this video, watch me take the ice bucket challenge. And I was like, no, I'm not going to because I'm a grown-up and I got better things to do. And I didn't put at Kara Swisher, okay? So Kara does vanity search like a lot of people do. She does vanity searches on her name on Twitter. And she punches back at me and says, I can't believe, stop being Mr. Grumpy. I can't believe you took the time to tweet this. And I wrote back, you're doing vanity searches on your name and then tweeting at me. Don't try crawling up my ass, sister. And a happy face. Okay? A happy face. Which means I'm joking. Kara lost her small, tiny brain. Oh, my God. She tried to bow up on me and get all pissy. And I'm like, Kara, I know you. You know me. You're not getting away with this. You're not going to be all push me around like I'm some Silicon Valley white boy. Okay? This is not gonna turn out the way you wanted to turn out, Kara. Okay?
Talk about losing your mind. Holy Jesus.
Who, me or her?
You.
Me? Why me?
You're losing your mind right now.
Well, yeah, because I couldn't believe that she would bother to try to get pissy with me. I
never did a vanity search.
Neither have I. I've never done a vanity search once. She said, everyone does vanity searches. And I said, no, Kara, everyone doesn't, for example. I don't. Very pleasantly. I said it very pleasantly. Not everyone does vanity searches. I've never done a vanity search in my life because A, there's too many frickin' Shawn Kings out there. And B, I honestly don't care. I honestly don't care what people are saying about me on a random website where they're not linking to me on Facebook or Twitter, things like that. If you want to say bad things about me on your website, go ahead. I don't give a rat's ass. So no, I've never done a vanity search in my entire life.
People have been saying bad things about me for so many years that I can't be bothered searching for them.
Exactly. I don't know why you'd want to search in your name. I mean, people want to communicate to you. They'll put an @ symbol or they'll link to you on Facebook or that kind of stuff. If they're tweeting and don't want you to see it or don't care if you see it, and they don't use your @ symbol on Twitter, don't bother searching for your own name. So people are saying about you. Oh my God, it's called a vanity search for a reason. And then to claim that everyone does it is patently untrue if even one person doesn't. She's a journalist. She knows better than this. And so then she got mad at me for basically challenging her, called me a jerk, and said that she was going to block me, and she didn't. That's the other thing that pisses me off, too. If you say you're going to block somebody, don't keep tweeting at them. Right?
How do you know that somebody blocked you?
Because she said, I'm going to make it so you can't bother me anymore, which obviously means that she's going to block me, right?
Maybe she's going to shoot you.
Well, possibly, but it was just funny. And that's what's got started this whole thing about just donate the money, folks. If you have extra money and you want to donate it to your favorite charity, please just go ahead and do it. I think part of it, Jim, I've been thinking about this more. I think part of it is that because we're Canadian. And as Canadians, I think we give as much as anybody else, and we give, to whatever charities that we want to give to. But we tend not to be self-promotional about our giving. And I may be generalizing this. I'm not accusing Americans of doing this. But I see a lot more of this in America than I do here in Canada, where people are saying, hey, watch me donate money kind of thing, whether it's this ice bucket challenge or other things.
There's no telling where all these people are coming from that are donating money. And, there's probably millions of people that have donated money from the States or from other places around the world just to help. Who knows? Yeah,
I mean, I want to make
any publicity for a good charity, go for it.
And from that point of view, I agree. It's just the videotaping of the ice bucket challenge thing, and then tweeting it and Facebooking it and putting it on the news. And there's now a BuzzFeed of the top 25 celebrity ice bucket challenges. Like, it just got like most things. It gets played out so fast on the internet that it just goes overboard very, very quickly. And again, I want to be clear, please donate to your favorite causes, whether it be ALS or puppy rescue or whatever it might be. Please, if you have extra money, please donate it. But I don't need to see you donate it in order for you to feel better about yourself. Maybe that's why people are doing this.
Yeah.
Twitter announced on I think over the weekend that don't want to see tweets in your timeline from strangers you don't follow? Too bad, says Twitter. Jim, why is Twitter trying to kill Twitter? I don't understand this.
How many times have we had that conversation?
Oh, no kidding. They just keep doing dumb things on Twitter. The last thing in the world I want to see in my Twitter timeline is tweets from people I'm not following. I'm not following you for a reason.
Yep.
For Twitter to suddenly come up and say, "Oh no, we're going to start just randomly inserting sponsored or other people's feeds or tweets into your," that will be the thing that will drive me off of Twitter. Because as I've always said, Twitter is not that important to me that I need to have Twitter. I'd put up with this kind of crap.
They have a captive audience. They have millions of users, and they can.
Yep.
Because most people will not leave Twitter because of it, because Twitter is either good entertainment or it's good for business. And Twitter knows that, and it's free. What are you going to say?
One of the interesting things I noticed about this, too, is that this is only going to happen, so far anyway, only going to happen in the official Twitter apps and on the Twitter website, which I rarely ever use. I use third-party clients. I use Tweetbot on my iPad, on my iPhone, and I use Yoru Fukaru on my desktop. So I'm not, in theory, going to see these things. Yeah, no kidding. It's the worst name for a Twitter client ever. But it's my favorite Twitter app. So it's interesting that Twitter hasn't changed the APIs to force these third-party companies to follow along with the standards being set by Twitter.com and by Twitter's app themselves. That might come at some point in the future. But right now, for example, I don't see sponsored tweets. I don't see sponsored posts on Twitter because I don't go to the Twitter.com website very often. So I think as long as Twitter keeps this to themselves, God damn it, as long as they keep it in their neck of the woods, go ahead and ruin your own Twitter clients. Go ahead and ruin your own website. But if this stuff starts to bleed into third-party Twitter clients, I'd be done in a heartbeat with Twitter.
I think you'd be in the minority.
I agree. I wouldn't disagree with you on that. Speaking of Twitter, folks, Jim's Twitter account, I always want to remind folks of this, is J Dalrymple. So at J Dalrymple, if you don't want to go, twitter.com/J Dalrymple. Speaking of which, I listened to Amplified this morning, you and Dan Benjamin over at 5x5 TV. I'm appalled that you didn't get Freebird.
I know. I'm appalled.
Oh my God. I'm embarrassed for you, man.
Yeah.
Folks, if you don't know, listen to Amplified. Hopefully it'll be up in the iTunes store soon. Jim and Dan did this basically name the tune kind of thing, and Dan played a couple of snippets of music for Jim, and Jim remarkably guessed most of them correctly. A lot of the ones I obviously didn't know, but the one came up and I got it inside 2 notes. And Jim, Freebird, of all the songs, dude. Yep. What was the other one you got wrong, too? That was really easy. You got another one wrong that was really easy, too. What was it?
Oh, I think I got 3 wrong out of a dozen or something. But, yeah, it was just awful. I mean, just awful. Freebird. Now, but he didn't play it to the point where I thought that it sounded like a Dire Straits song.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because of the way that it started out. But, he was only playing like a second and a half or 2 seconds of the song. Yep. You know, if he had to let it go for 10 seconds, that one, then I would have had it. But, yeah, I still no excuse. It's Freebird.
It's Freebird, exactly. Now, I don't know enough about rock and roll. I've heard this happen usually at like outdoor concerts of minor bands. Why do people yell Freebird at a concert?
That's what they do when they're at Leonard Skinner's. They just yell Freebird.
Yeah, but I mean not at Skinner.
Everybody yells Freebird.
But I mean not at Skinner concerts. I've heard people yell at like a Police concert, and it cracks Sting. Sting up.
I've yelled Freebird at Motley Crue.
Why? Why is the question? Well, why would you do that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I've always been curious.
I mean, you just do.
It's always fascinating to be like, I'll be sitting there, all of a sudden you hear some guy in the back yell, Freebird! Like, why did you do that? It's not Skinner. They're not taking
I want to see somebody do that at like a hip-hop concert or something.
You get the shit kicked out of them. Yeah, no kidding. Oh, yeah, that would not be pretty. That would be ugly. So, yeah, I was listening to 5x5 this morning, and I got to tell you, I think you need a new co-host.
You think?
I think Dan's getting a little tired. I think Dan needs a break.
All right.
I think
maybe not.
No, I think he does. And I think I'm your guy. I think starting next week I should be allowed to bump Benjamin off of Amplified 5x5 TV. Let's try this as an experiment. Let's just kick Dan to the curb for a month.
Let's do it.
Really?
I'm ready.
Seriously?
Yep. Next week, next Wednesday. If you're not there, Dan's coming back on, though.
Folks, I'm joking. Actually, Dan is off. He's on vacation or another project. Jim and Dan have both asked me to basically carry Jim's ass for the next month on because Jim doesn't know squat about what goes on behind the scenes at Amplified. It's hilarious. Jim called me up yesterday. True. Jim called me up and said, would you like to do this? I said, yeah, I'd be honored to do this. It's, and honestly, Jim, with all the people that you know, with all the people that you could have asked, the fact that you've asked me to do this proves that the pictures I have of you with the goats works.
Yeah, but then you started asking me questions about, well, what's post-production like?
That's right.
Huh?
I don't know. You have no clue what goes on.
I hang up, and magically it shows up on iTunes. I don't know. Little elves put it up there or something.
I had no idea you were that out of the loop when it came to Amplified. I literally did not know. You don't know squat about what goes on.
I pick up an hour and a half later. I hang up, and boom, it's done.
That is hilarious. So yeah, Jim and Dan, I get on the phone with Dan and learn about the behind the scenes stuff that Jim doesn't know. So for the next month on Wednesday mornings, we'll do and we'll do it live, 5x5.tv/live. If you guys want to tune in at 9 a.m. Pacific time on next Wednesday for the next 4 weeks, I will be subbing in for Dan Benjamin over at 5x5, and it's going to be a different show. It's not going to be the same show. I'll tell you that right now, Jim. If nothing else, it'll be. What are you doing?
What?
There's all kinds of background noise all of a sudden. You're not driving again, are you?
No.
Okay, just wanted to check. I warned Dan about this when I talked to him yesterday. There will be significantly more profanity.
Well, we'll just have to be careful.
Oh, will we?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't know. All I do, I talk and then I hang up. I told you, I don't know.
But if
there are rules, I don't know what they are.
It's going to be different from this. It's going to be similar to this, but it's going to be different from this. I'm looking forward to it, if only because it gives me an opportunity to do something that one of the things that everyone loves about Amplified is the fact that Jim talks a lot more about music than he does here on this show. We just don't care on this show. But one of the things I want to do is start picking his brain about his musical influences and his idols and his playing and that kind of stuff. But we'll also talk about the news of the week, both Mac news and other news. And I've got some surprises for Jim, too. Jim, have you ever heard of a game? Did you ever hear of a game? Probably you played it in college, because that was when it was around, called Scruples.
Oh, I think so.
We're going to play a version of Scruples.
Okay.
We're gonna
is that like what would you do if?
Exactly.
I'd leave him on the side of the road and steal his wallet.
That's
there,
right.
done.
That covers everything. All you need to know about Jim is right there in that sentence. Side of the road, steal the wallet. Yeah. You know what? For me, it's always been a matter of how much money's in the wallet. if it's $50, I'll give it back. If it's a bag of $50,000, I'm sorry, I'm keeping that.
Yeah.
If it's like
and then kick him on the way by just to be sure.
If it's like drug money, I'm keeping that. I'll give you your $10 back, your $100 back, but the more money it is, the less likely you're getting it back from me. And I'm honest. I'm telling you right now up front. You leave a bag of $50,000 lying around, I'm stealing the money. Okay, just no way around it. Did you ever see that commercial? I can't remember what. It was a commercial for a bank, and it was a hidden camera kind of thing. And this very properly dressed, kind of preppy, kind of yuppie white guy had a suitcase, one of those steel suitcases, and he claimed they had to go somewhere, but he couldn't take the suitcase with him. And would you hold it? And the suitcase has $1 million in it. And he would open the suitcase up to the person and show them there's $1 million in the suitcase. And he would close the suitcase, and the suitcase isn't locked. And he would say, would you be so kind, please just wait here for me for 5 minutes, and they'd go away. And they would film this. I think it was for a bank or something. I can't remember what the product was. But oh my God, I would have left skid marks running away from that location. $1 million? Gone. So fast. I don't care if you caught me on video. You're dumb enough to...
You know what? Even if I saw him drop it off to somebody else, I would have beat them and taken it.
That's right. That is
hey,
right.
look, if you're not running with it, then
right.
You're fair game now.
Someone's gonna be running with his money. Damn it! Someone's gonna be just doing something with this money. So next week So what it is? Wednesday will be Double Dose of Dalrymple Day. Double dose. Yeah. It'll be 4D Day. We'll get an hour with Jim on Amplified, again, 5x5.tv/live, and then Jim will be back on Your Mac Life on next Wednesday evening. Jim, thanks very much for doing this, buddy. As always, I appreciate it.
All right.
Have a good night. See ya.
See you, Shawn.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm excited about that. And like I said, it's a big, it literally is, for me, a big honor that of all the people that Jim knows, let me just hang up on his ass now. Of all the people that Jim knows, he asked me to do this, so I'm hugely honored. And that Dan Benjamin of 5x5 also agreed to do it because it's Dan's network and Dan's show. So I'm looking forward to it. I've already got a bunch of things to talk to Jim about, like I said, music and a whole bunch of other things. We're going to play Scruples, or a version thereof. As always, email to onair@yourmac. Marcus says it was for Ali Bank. ALLY Bank on YouTube. Do a search on YouTube for it and see if you can find the Alley Bank. It's an odd commercial. Isn't it funny how the situation of a commercial you'll remember, but not the product, which I think that means the commercial wasn't very good. If I can't say, that was a Toyota ad, or that was a Heinz ad, maybe the commercial wasn't very good. I remember the situation, but not the product. Mosquito is volunteering for co-hosting. But the Mosquito, I'm just happy to be able to listen to Amplify without having to sit through. Oh, that's mean. Mo, that's just mean. What was I going to? Oh yeah, on air at yourmaclifeshow.com. If you have any comments about the things that we've talked about, Apple share price, does that matter to you? If you're a shareholder, I got to assume it does. You obviously want to see it go up and not down. But is it of interest, concern? Do you care as the average person? I think part of it for me is I don't care because I know that Wall Street doesn't understand Apple. I like seeing Apple's share price go up. I don't own a single share. Used to, but you know who took that. So it doesn't really matter to me. It feels like it's just a way of Wall Street to keep score, and they're doing it wrong. Those of us who followed Apple for all these years know that even if you don't have Apple stock, oftentimes, not every time, but oftentimes the price drops by 1%, 2% before an Apple announcement, or it goes up before an Apple announcement, after and down afterwards. So the stock market for a lot of us doesn't make any sense. By the way, I think it was Sherry was complaining about the photograph behind me. Notice, Sherry, I changed it just for you. It's not the clock anymore. I changed the clock picture for those folks who are watching the video. I think it was Sherry. So somebody, was it Sherry? Maybe it wasn't Sherry, but somebody was bothered by the fact there was a clock behind me that said 10 to 2 and never changed. So I took the clock down. So yeah, for the most part, the share price doesn't make a lot of difference. It has nothing to do with the health of the company, because we've seen the share price be really low when the company was healthy. It doesn't affect anything else. It doesn't seem to engender more good feelings on the part of Wall Street to know that Apple's share price goes up. They're doing what they're doing the way they do it, without any care, concern, or relationship to real life. So I don't really pay a lot of attention to it. Although when it broke 100, it was, again, a psychological barrier that a lot of folks thought was important. Also, there's the Steve Ballmer letter too. I really believe that a lot of the backlash to that letter is due to our justified, for the most part, feelings about Steve Ballmer. He's been publicly a buffoon on a number of occasions. He, over his 10-year, 15-year CEO period of time, I'm not going to say he's driven Microsoft into the ground, because it's still a very successful company, but he hasn't done a whole lot. At best, I think you could say that Ballmer maintained the company. It didn't. I think the stock price is down significantly over the period of time. Their profits are down significantly. I mean, you want to see the difference? Those of us who are old enough to remember Steve Jobs standing on a stage at Macworld Expo, I think it was 97, announcing the fact that Microsoft has invested $150 million in Apple. It didn't directly save Apple, but it certainly helped a lot. Contrast that with today, where the iPhone business, I want to make that clear, just the iPhone. If iPhone was a company in and of itself, the iPhone business is bigger than Microsoft when it comes to revenue, when it comes to profit. That's how much times have changed in only the last 15 years. Remarkable turnaround for Apple, and turnaround in the opposite direction for Microsoft. You know, there was a time, you young folks out there may not realize this, but there was a time Microsoft was so big, the government considered breaking them up, literally breaking the company up like they did with the old Ma Bells back in the 70s or 80s, back in the ancient mists of time. They are no longer that company. They will never be that company again. They're still a successful company. They still make money. They do seem to be a little out of sorts, and maybe the new guy will fix that. Maybe Ballmer leaving will help him fix that. But I think a lot of it is our impressions of Ballmer, the public Ballmer that we say, and the fact that the company that he ran for all these years ain't doing all that well. You know, just is not doing very good. So good riddance to bad rubbish. But the excuses used in that letter, I think, were patently ridiculous. If you're quitting a job, you don't think about what you're going to do after that job in the last day of the job. You know, you're sitting around the lunchroom getting your cake, thinking, oh yeah, that's right. I'm not coming back here on Monday. What am I going to do? You don't do that. If you give 2 weeks notice, you know what you're doing on Monday. If you're retiring in 6 months, you know what you're doing for your retirement. You don't just, oh yeah, it's moving day, time to pack. You don't do that. It's bull. And the fact that somehow he thinks that teaching a college class and running an NBA team is somehow going to take up all of his time. Board of directors, for the most part, don't do a whole heck of a lot. They'll have a board meeting once a month, once every 3 months maybe. You get your money for your per diem. Board members at a company like Microsoft might make between $50,000 and $75,000, maybe $100,000 a year to be a board member. You'll get ridiculous amounts of money for per diems. You sit down, the CEO gives you a presentation, you talk about what's going on, you vote on some stuff, and then you leave. It's not a stressful job. It's not a difficult job. You give some advice, you're on the phone talking to people, but it ain't like it's real tough. So that's why I think that Ballmer was not pushed out, but certainly asked to leave Microsoft to make room for the new CEO's guys, which is not unusual. Again, it's not something that's surprising to anybody. This is the kind of stuff that happens. So what do you think about that? What do you think? Am I right in my analysis, in my thinking about this? Email to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. A good friend of ours, Les Posen down there in Australia, writes, Kara Swisher blocked me too. When I edited a talk of hers, her ums and ahs took minutes out of her short talk. So he edited her and she blocked him? She's remarkably petty. I mean, that's just... I don't know if no one believes me, but I literally have never done a vanity search in my life. I don't need to. If people want to talk to me, they'll talk to me directly. They'll send me an email, Shawn@yourmaclifeshow.com. Twitter, Shawn King on Twitter. Facebook, Shawn M. King on Facebook. If you want to talk to me, there's all kinds of ways of getting a hold of me. If you want to talk at me, there's all kinds of things you can do. But if you want to criticize me, that's fine. You can do that. You can do that publicly. Again, Shawn@yourmaclifeshow.com. I'm more than happy to take criticism. But I'm not going to search the web for my name. Again, because there's 8 million Shawn Kings out there. But even if there was only one of me, I'm not going to search the web for my name just so I can read what you say about me. I don't care that much. And it's just to me, it seems like such a waste of time. Because what are you going to do? You're going to write back to them? Well, you know what? If someone's going to write bad things about you on the web and not tell you about it, they don't want you to see it. And it's probably not worthy of you to see it and read it and respond and think about it and respond to it. It's not worth your time. It's not worth the time for the average person. I got to assume a well-respected journalist, and I don't use that word lightly, Kara Swisher is a very, very well-respected journalist. I got to assume she got better freaking things to do with her time than sit around doing vanity searches on her name and then tweeting back to people. Don't be mean to me, basically. I mean, some story, Kara. Grow up. She's better than that. I respect the hell out of Kara. But she has been described, and rightfully so, as a bully. That's one of the ways she gets the stories she gets, is because she bully may be too strong, but she certainly encourages people to tell her information. And I firmly believe that she was trying to bully me on Twitter. And for those of you who follow me on Twitter, you know that's not going to happen. Not going to happen. I'm not going to back down from anybody. I don't care if your name's Kara Swisher or if it's Don Frankenstein. If you say something, I'm going to respond back to you in the way I want to respond back to you. As my friend Leslie says, be nice. And I would say to her, no, I can only be Shawn. That's all I can do. That's the best you can expect from me. Sometimes Shawn's nice. Sometimes Shawn's not nice. But you can't bitch slap me on Twitter and not expect me to bitch slap you back. It's just the way it is. Sorry. That's just the way that little thing's going to go down. And Mosquito says, I've enjoyed some of her work. She throws fewer softballs at big interview subjects. Absolutely. Absolutely. She is, a good journalist in the truest sense of the word. And I like her stuff. I read her stuff. She breaks stories. She breaks news. She gets answers. She asks good questions. But her persona on Twitter, I think, is frankly childish and pointless for her to react that way. Just because I disagreed with her posting another one of these ice bucket challenge things. And again, what do you guys think about the ice bucket challenge? Is it something you would do? Remember, the original version of the ice bucket challenge was I challenge you to do this. And if you accepted the challenge, you would either dump a bucket of ice cold water over your head, or you'd pay $100 to ALS. Everyone's doing both now. Okay, I get that. But first of all, what kind of dick would say, no, I'm not paying $100. I'm just going to pour water over my head. Yeah, don't do that. But am I wrong? Is there just too much of this? Again, BuzzFeed 30 celebrity ice bucket challenge. I don't care. I don't need to see a celebrity dumping water over their head. If you have a charity you like, if you think they're deserving of your money, give them money. Don't pour water over your head. Don't bungee jump. Don't run down the freeway. Don't do anything. Just frickin' give them the money. And again, maybe it's because it's the Canadian in me. We tend not to be self-promotional in that kind of way. Because I think that's part of the problem that gets me. Is here, look, I'm donating money kind of thing. You know, the ice bucket challenge is signifying I'm donating money. I don't need to see you donate money. Just donate the damn money. Brian Monroe in Twitter, yes, it has run its course. Way too many people have done it. Sherry says, this ice bucket stuff reminds me of the no makeup selfie thing that made the rounds a few months ago. P. Booth, it is getting a little old. Mosquito, but this whole thing is too much about self-praise. Yeah, that's it. It's less about the charity and has become more about, oh, here, watch me do this thing and donate money. Yeah, not a fan. Excuse me, sorry about that. Couple things. First of all, does anyone out there know anybody at Groupon? Does anybody out there have any connections with anybody at Groupon? Oh my God. I am doing, by the way, thanks very much to our good friend Vito Mori up in Prince George, British Columbia. Vito allowed me to take over his Prince George Macintosh user group mailing list for a couple of mailings. And we've got 40 people who are coming out to our class on September 19th, Saturday afternoon at the Prince George Civic Center. That's a lot of fun. I'm going to enjoy doing that. Hopefully we'll get more, but we've got 40 mug members doing it right now. And so this gave us the impetus to move forward. We're going to do 8 classes here in the lower mainland of Vancouver. 2 at the beautiful West Vancouver Public Library, 2 at the downtown Public Library here in Vancouver, 2 at the British Columbia Institute of Technology, and 2 at the spectacular Van Dusen Botanical Gardens. If you want more information, you can go to the website at startingpointphotography.com. So we've got this set up, and we started working with the folks at Groupon about this, with the idea that Groupon was going to help us market this. One of the problems that you have with these kinds of things is reaching out to the target audience. Now, you can do, traditional advertising. You can advertise in the local papers. You can advertise on the radio. You can advertise on TV, all that kind of stuff. One of the problems is because this is such a niche market, it's a very narrow market, the return on investment of those kinds of deals that kind of marketing and advertising is a lot less. So, doing the research on Groupon, we found out that for those folks who and by the way, email, do you use Groupon? Do you like Groupon? Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. Let me know, give me a sense of the audience's participation in Groupon or other type deals, Living Social and WagJag and Daily Deals and a whole bunch of other ones. I like Groupon. I've used Groupon in the past. So what happens is when you buy a Groupon, half that money goes to Groupon, the other half goes to the vendor. And one of the problems is people have gotten themselves into trouble by offering the Groupon, especially restaurants, at too low a price. So, for example, you offer a $50 coupon, and it's for a meal that costs $50. Well, Groupon's taking half that money. So you're giving your customer a $50 meal for $25, and you can do that for several hundred people. That can get a lot of restaurants into trouble. Now, for us, that's not going to happen. For the photography classes, that's not going to happen. We've already paid for the rooms up front. We know what our minimum number of people are. We think we can get the minimum number of people. So we contacted Groupon and said, hey, we want to do a Groupon with you guys. They've got other photography Groupons that they've been running, not exactly the same as ours, but kind of similar. Basically, people teaching you how to take better pictures. And Groupon said, yeah, we'd love to do that. We suggest this price. We suggest doing it this way. And yeah, okay, great, fantastic. You guys are the marketing experts. So on Friday, I get an email from Groupon saying, okay, here's the copy for your Groupon deal. And this copy cannot be changed. This copy is deeply researched information. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, deeply researched. That's kind of cool. So we'll see. You guys show me the information. So I go to the Groupon website, and for those folks in the IRC chat room, check that link out. So I go to the Groupon website with where our deal is to see about the content that they've got there, and the text is awful. It's just poorly written. It's not very descriptive. It's not exactly accurate. It's got a poor picture associated with it. It doesn't represent my company, Starting Point Photography, in the way I want to be represented. If you look at other Groupon deals in the Vancouver area, you can see how they have written blurbs, 3-4 paragraphs of descriptive text of the event itself, the deal itself, the photographer. There's a lot of information there. The marketing copy is designed to encourage you to click the buy button. The way Groupon has got it set up for us, I don't see that happening. I don't see people being encouraged to click the buy button. So I call Groupon up today and say, hey, can we fix this? Nope. I'm sorry. What? No, we can't change the copy. Why not? Is it set in stone? Yes. But it's not right. Is it factually incorrect? Well, not exactly, so we're not changing it. But it doesn't represent my business. We're not changing it. But it's not going to encourage people to buy it. We're not changing it. I could not get this guy to acknowledge the fact that other, let's call them competitors in my area, have better looking Groupon deals. And I don't want someone else's Groupon deal to be better looking than mine, because that means they'll make more money than me. I don't want that. So I went around and around with this guy. Now, remember, I said Groupon gets half the money. If we sell out our Groupon, which we hope we can, that means it'll be $16,000 in Groupon's pocket. In Groupon's pocket. We'd make $16K, they'd make $16K. This deal is not going to get posted the way it is now. So for lack of 2-3 well-written paragraphs, Groupon is willing to give up $16,000. That seems insane to me. That seems stupid to me. That seems like you're cutting your nose off to spite your face. So if anyone has any connection with Groupon, if you know a marketing person over there or some grown-up I can talk to get this thing figured out, please let me know. MacMan says, I've heard less than polite things about Groupon. Yeah, I've heard the same thing. I've heard, there's a Brian Monroe pointed out in the pre-show that there's a Groupon wiki. Now, a lot of the problems with Groupon, though, are of the vendor's own making, and because Groupon doesn't explain things very well. For example, and I know I'm as guilty of this as anybody, one of the things that you'll do is you'll wait till the last day of the Groupon deal. And so if you and 100 other people do the same thing, and you all show up at the same restaurant at the same time, the restaurant's going to get overwhelmed. You know, if it's a Thursday night, they've only got 2 staff members on, but all of a sudden 100 people show up, and they don't get served quickly, and they bitch about it, and they write on Yelp about it. Well, that's not fair to the restaurant. But the restaurant also has to understand that they've got to do their part. And the other problem with Groupon is, and this is particularly true of restaurants, is for the most part, customers don't go back. Think about any Groupons you've bought. Do you go back to that restaurant after, without a Groupon? Have you gone back to Joe's Crab Shack? You got a Groupon for $50. You went there. You had the meal. Have you gone back? 65% of people don't, because you've got it in your head of this meal is worth $50. When you go back the next time, it's a $100 meal because you were getting a Groupon deal. And you won't, no, I'm only paying $50 for this meal. I'm not paying twice what I paid last time, even though last time you got a deal. So people don't go back. So Groupon is demonstrably bad for a lot of restaurants. Not necessarily for products. If there's a knife set, I bought a knife set on Groupon for a gift for a friend. I bought jewelry for friends. And it's cheap stuff, but $10 for I bought the little Sig for her birthday, a nice funky little wristwatch, had some really cool designs on it. It was $10. With a Groupon deal. Yeah, I'll do that. But yeah, I can see why a lot of folks would be unhappy with Groupon when it comes to restaurants. But for the things we're doing, it's fine. I think because this is the only way we have. We don't have $10,000 to throw at the local Vancouver market in order to promote the classes. So we're trying to get Groupon to do it for us. So yeah, if anyone has any connections to Groupon, please email me to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. I was talking earlier too about the P&E, the Pacific National Exhibition. It is the equivalent of the state fair here in Vancouver for those folks who are in America. You go to the Texas State Fair, the Tennessee State Fair, or whatever it might be. And again, I'm asking you folks, I know Dar XMac listens. I know Marcus is in the IRC chat room. He's in South America. I believe he's in Brazil. Do they have this kind of stuff in other countries? In Europe, in South America, in Asia? Les Posen's listening in Australia. Les, do they have state fair type things in Australia? I know they're all over the States. They're a big deal this time of year in various places in the U.S. And they're fun. As a kid, because being from Nova Scotia, we didn't have a set amusement park where we could go to any time of the year. There's no water parks. There was nothing like that. So for us, it was a big deal. That Nova Scotia Provincial Fair was a big deal for us as kids, because the circus came to town and the rides came to town, and you'd go and you'd watch. If you lived in the neighborhood, you'd watch them build all these rides and set up the games and all that fun stuff. And your mom would give you a couple of bucks, and you'd go and you'd go on the ride. You eat cotton candy and you'd get popcorn and you'd play some of the silly games, trying to win some stuffed toy. My favorite game is the water game. I don't play any of the other games. I know they're all rigged. I know how they're rigged. Every frickin' one of them is rigged in some way, shape, or form. I know this, so I don't bother playing them. But as kids, we loved playing the water game. My mother loved playing the darts game because she was a great darts player. And she'd always won stuff in the darts. She actually got banned from the darts game. I remember standing there one time, and my mom was just going, pop, 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 and just nailing every freaking balloon. And finally, he said, lady, here, just take the big one and go away. Don't come back. So mom had to walk. That's the other thing, when you win these prizes at state fairs, you have to walk around all the rest of the day with this gigantic stuffed toy. I remember one year we got a lion, this huge, I'm 7 or 8. I don't remember how old it was, but to me, it was a gigantic stuffed lion. Beautiful stuffed lion. I slept with that lion for years afterwards. My favorite ride was the Tilt-A-Whirl. I loved as a kid the Tilt-A-Whirl. Just loved the Tilt-A-Whirl. It was so much fun to... I don't remember the Tilt-A-Whirl as being anything scary. But I just remember it just being fun as a kid, just spinning around. I would never get on any of the rides that go up and fly around and do things. Oh God, no. I'm not riding anything that goes off the ground, that spins you around, that throws you upside down and no, not doing that. Although I like roller coasters. I love roller coasters. I'm not doing any of the other rides. What about you guys? Is there a particular ride that you like to go to when you go to the state fair? Water rides or things like that? The other fun thing about it is that I always enjoyed, even as a kid, was the animal section, the 4-H part of a P&E type event. The idea that you would go and see these other kids, and they were, after a certain age, they were kind of your age. There were 10, 12, 13-year-old kids, but they lived on a farm. Ooh, they lived on a farm. You know, it was a big deal to live on a farm. So these kids would bring their animals, and for us, we thought they were pets. Oh, you know, there's your pet pig. Not these guys were raising these pigs as to sell, to breed, kind of thing. And so it was fun to go at this one. I don't remember if I ever seen this before, but I saw a baby bunny. It was so cute. It was a little tiny baby rabbit. I can't remember if I've ever seen a baby rabbit before. I've only ever seen like full-size rabbits. And they had a llama there. And the llama's name was Def Leopard. I thought it was a funny name for a llama. Why would you name your llama Def Leopard? It was a very cute llama. He stuck his nose through the fence, and I took a couple pictures of him. And then they had a picture of this bunny called Lamar. There's the idea that you would name your bunny Lamar. Just, to me, that was funny. This is the rabbit named Lamar. There's another bunny called Thor. It wasn't as funny, but Lamar as a name for a rabbit was just hilarious. I mean, we talked to the kids. We talked to some of the kids who were breeding the bunnies, and they're breeding them for show, and they're breeding them for food. So it was really neat to and then kids walking around with cows. Like kids that were 13 years old, the cow was taller than the kid. The kid's just walking this cow through the barn. And this cow was huge. It was some sort of meat cow because he was fat. He was wide. He was probably like 3 feet, 4 feet wide. And the kid just walking this cow. It's fascinating to me. And so going there and taking pictures was a lot of fun. If you want to learn to take better pictures, go to events where there's a lot of things happening, where there's a lot of lights, where there is a lot of people, where there's a lot of things going on, excitement going on, people jumping up for winning prizes. And you don't have to go very far. I mean, you can just stand in one spot. Stand next to one of the games and just take pictures of a kid walking up and throwing a ball up against the milk bottle thing. Or the ducks, you know, the fishing for the ducks. And take pictures of kids doing that or adults doing that. The rides. Some of the pictures of the rides. Apparently there's this one ride at the P&E called Hell's Gate, which just from the amount of screaming I heard sounded like it was the scariest ride at the entire P&E. I mean, these folks are just terrified of this ride. They're screaming their asses off on this ride. Just you hear them all over the fair. And so that just says to me, I ain't getting on that damn ride. There's no chance in hell of me actually riding that ride. A, it's called Hell's Gate. B, everyone on it's terrified. And C, everyone's screaming their asses off. Yep, not for me. No, thank you. Nope. Not my ride. Not my thing. Not doing it. So send me an email during the week if you go to your local. I remember going to the Texas State Fair. You know, it's one of the world famous state fairs, and having freeze dried cheesecake and freeze dried Mars bars. It was the days when everything they do it at the P&E too, and just trying that stuff out. And a deep fried Mars bar, it's disgusting. Deep fried cheesecake, it's disgusting. You don't eat that stuff. But you got to eat that kind of stuff when you're at the fair. You got to at least try it. Yeah, I said freeze dried. Yeah, mosquito deep fried. Mosquito. I've never been one for big scary rides. I prefer playing skee ball and watching one or two friends puke. I don't want to see my friends puke. But yeah, I'm not a giant fan of the rides anymore, except for roller coasters. I still love roller coasters. Nope, we get to spend our money. Sherry says they didn't have 4-H in Nova Scotia. Yeah, they had 4-H in Nova Scotia, Sherry. That's the kids that we saw at our local fairs. I went on the zipper with Carrie's ex. It was fun until I smashed my face in the front of the cage when there was no padding. Arcsign, my favorite stuffed animal prize ever was one I got for hitting a royal flush in video poker in Laughlin, Nevada. P. Booth, probably the kid was leading a steer. Yeah, P. Booth, I don't know anything about cows. I know steers are the ones without the boy bits, and the females are the ones with the Yankee bits. The udder, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, probably because there was a bunch of meat cows there. Meat in a stick is a state fair staple. Absolutely. corn dogs, Hiker BC, Hiker, are Tom Thumb donuts the mini donuts? Because that's the only thing I have to have when I'm at the P&E. Have to have mini donuts. The first thing I do is go for a mini donut. And Brian Monroe, yum, corn dogs. I've never had a corn dog in my life. I don't want to be seen eating a corn dog, all right? You shouldn't be allowed to eat corn dogs in public. There should be a separate area of the fair behind a screen, a privacy screen, where you can go eat a corn dog. Because there's nothing more rude than eating a corn dog. Okay? It's like softcore porn. No, go over there and eat your corn dog. I don't want to see you eating your corn dog. Go away. That's just nasty. And Brian Monroe says, yes, Tom Thumb donuts are mini donuts. I love those. The thing I love with mini donuts, and I'm so disappointed they didn't have it this year, it's a self-contained unit. But back when I remember the P&E 10, 12, 15 years ago, it was a long device. And the kids would put the donut stuff in this big hopper at one end, and the hopper would mix all the stuff in, and it was like a funnel, and the donut thing would go, and it would spit into the trough of hot oil a little circular mini donut. And the mini donuts are, I don't have everything. It's smaller than this. I mean, mini donuts about that big around. Thumb and forefinger circle, about that big around. It would go plop, and it would float down the little hot oil river, and then halfway down there was a little paddle that flipped it upside down, so it would hot oil the other side, and it would float down a little bit more, and it would flip into a big vat, a big bowl, a big thing, and they would cover it in cinnamon sugar and then bag them up, and you had to eat them hot. You got to eat mini donuts hot. Oh my God. Oh, I'm getting hungry just thinking about the damn hot mini donuts. Oh, I love my mini donuts. Love my mini donuts. Yeah, we're going to wrap up here. We're going to talk a little bit about last week's show. So if you don't want to, and I understand if you don't want to, we'll talk about the discussion of last week's show. So we're going to wrap up here for those folks who want to leave now. And again, I'm not going to hold it against you. I completely understand if you don't want to hang on. It won't, believe me, this segment won't be as bad as last week's show. It won't be nearly as painful for me or you. If you're leaving now, thanks very much for joining us. If you get a chance, check out 5x5 Amplified live next Wednesday, 9 a.m. 5x5.tv/live, 9 a.m. Pacific time next Wednesday. It'll be me and Jim, me taking over from Dan Benjamin for a period of time while he goes. I think he's on the project or on vacation. I'm not sure. I don't care. But we'll be doing that show with him. So until next week, thank you guys very much for joining me. I've been Shawn King. This has been Your Mac Life. See ya. Okay. Now, if the folks want to leave, you can leave. I got to say, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the responses I got from last week's show. I mean, it really meant a lot to me. Every single one of them. I got over 1,000 emails and tweets and Facebook messages and direct messages and instant messages and from people I haven't heard from in years. People still listen to the show, but just haven't had a reason to contact me in years. So I can't tell you guys how much that meant to me. And some of you weren't happy. And I completely understand that. I had a couple people stop subscribing to Your Mac Life and have said they're not going to listen to the show if I keep talking about this stuff. But because they have an image of what they believe Your Mac Life should be, and I wasn't fulfilling that image. I get that. I understand why you're saying that. You're wrong. I'll say that. The show has always been Your Mac Life. It's always been about you and me. It's always been about life, and it's always been about Macintosh. And quite often, as longtime listeners know, it's been about my life. I had someone say that I should keep my business life and my personal life separate. It should be two different things. I've never been able to do that. I couldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Because then I have to remember, is this something I can tell people about, or is this something I should keep to myself, or what? Screw it. I can't be bothered. It's all the same thing. As I've often said to people, and everyone knows this, what you see is what you get. The Shawn you see on Twitter is the same Shawn you see on Your Mac Life. It's the same Shawn you'll see at Macworld Expo. It's the same Shawn you'll see walking down the street. There's no persona This isn't a face I put on. The old line of, if I was Two-Face, would I wear this one? As much as I possibly can, there's no difference between me sitting here right now and if you and I were sitting in a pub somewhere. You're going to get the same stories. You're going to get the same conversation. You're going to get the same language. It's all going to be the same. So that being said, I understand some folks don't. The conversation we had last week was uncomfortable. If you thought it was uncomfortable for you, imagine how it was for me. So yeah, we lost a few subscribers and we lost a few listeners. But I'm okay with that. Because if this is not your kind of show, then don't listen. I have no problem with that. You know, back in the day when we first started doing the show, I would get people all the time saying, if you don't stop, whoa, yes, exactly. I lost my mouse. If you don't stop doing that, I'm not going to listen to the show anymore. Okay, don't listen. Because I'm not going to stop doing that. This is who I am. This is what I am. This is how I do what I do. So, yeah, if you feel you need to leave the show because of last week's conversation, okay. All right. But for all the people who said any number of wonderful things, thanks for doing the show, thanks for sticking with us, thanks for staying alive, thanks to you guys. I honestly don't know if it would ever make a difference in the level of my depression, but it certainly helped last week up until this moment in time. And it will help going forward at least a little bit. I don't know if I've been using numbers to describe my level of depression between 1 and 10. And 1 is happy and 10 is, well, you know what 10 is going to be. And I'm generally around a 5 or a 6. But I know last Friday and Thursday and Friday are the days I get the most email from folks when they listen to the archive. Thursday and Friday I was at a 3 and a 4. It was great. I mean, it was exhausting because I responded to all these emails, but it was great to hear from so many people. And then the other aspect of it is that, sorry, I lost my mouse for some reason is no longer visible. I can't actually see my freaking mouse. Doesn't happen on TV. Heaven forbid you break format once in a while. Brian Monroe, I've seen many times where the hosts have had people on who are going through a tough time in their lives. Show support a community of listeners, some who I consider friends. Mosquito says, I only want to hear about what happens to my friends. MacMan, you've always been completely open with your listeners, which is one reason why I followed Mac Show Live and Your Mac Life for 14 plus years now. Mosquito, this is what makes good radio. Brian Monroe, that's why I like you and your show. Yeah, do the show the way you want to. Why does Shawn need to explain anything? Well, and I'm getting to that, maybe in a roundabout kind of way. Mosquito, you warned folks material was going to get heavy. You gave listeners a clear, dry line. Stop here, you told them. Yes, exactly. That's the other thing, too. I made it clear what we were going to talk about. Now, maybe they were expecting something different. The other aspect of the emails I got was it was so wonderful to hear from so many people who said, yeah, I feel the same way. And you and Christina, and this is always going to go back to Christina, film girl, Christina Warren at Mashable.com. She gave me the courage to say what I said, and you guys are telling me that I've given you the courage to say what you said. There are at least 3 people who emailed me who said they're going to go get treatment. There are at least 30 or 40 people who have said, I'm going to go and see about what's going on, why I feel this way, that you've given. I'm not saying anyone's name. I'm not going to read anyone's email. That's always going to be private between you and I. I'm not going to read any of that stuff on air. So if you want to send, that's the other thing too. If you want to send me stuff, please do, about the way you're feeling and about how you deal with stuff. One of our listeners quite wonderfully said, I don't know if you have a spiritual aspect of your life, Shawn, but I want you to know I'm praying for you. And I'm not a religious kind of guy. I may be described as spiritual at times, but I'm not religious in that traditional sense. But I love the idea that he said to me, I'm praying for you. I don't find that bad at all. That's wonderful. That's sweet. That's kind. That's generous. When I was a kid, our youth pastor was forced to go to church by my mom. Our youth pastor said something to me stuck with me my entire life. He said, even if you don't believe it doesn't mean it's not true. You know, whether you believe or not doesn't stop it from being true or untrue, for that matter. So that's why I wrote back to this listener. Even if I don't believe, it still might be true, and I still appreciate your thoughts. Whether those thoughts are in terms of prayer, official, oh God, please be nice to Shawn kind of stuff, or whether it's just thinking good thoughts about people. That's greatly appreciated. One of the funny things, and I say this funny only in the unintentional kind of way. Someone once said to me, Shawn, you know, because I said one of my trigger points is money. Being unable to, you know, not knowing if I'm going to be able to pay rent, not knowing if I'm going to be able to buy food. This goes back to, why do you have to explain yourself? I think from some of the emails I got from folks, people don't realize this is my job. This has been my job for 20 years. I don't have another gig. I do some other writing on the side, and I do some other things on the side, but this, Your Mac Life, is my job. And you guys pay me to do the job. That's what subscribers do. You're not subscribing out of you may think you are, but you're not subscribing just out of the goodness of your own heart. Oh, here, I'll give $2 to Shawn. You're paying Shawn to do the show. You're paying me to do the show. And when I have enough money, and I don't have to worry about rent and food, the show is better. My stress level is a whole lot less. My depression is a whole lot less. Someone said, as I was, saying something like that on last week's show, Shawn, remember, money doesn't buy happiness. And you know what? First of all, I hate that cliche. My apologies to the listener who wrote that. This is not against you, but I hate that cliche. Because only people who've had money ever say that. Poor people never say money doesn't buy happiness. Poor people say, let me try. Give me money. Let me take a shot at being happy with it. And the other thing is, money doesn't buy happiness. Well, you know what? Money buys food, and food makes me happy. Okay? It's simple as that. So please don't use that trite line with people who say that part of their stress is because of money. Money doesn't buy happiness. It may or it may not. But it doesn't help not to have money. Not to have money causes stress, causes me to be depressed, causes me to sit on the couch and wallow in my own misery and have a very tough time getting up off that damn comfortable couch. That couch is evil. That's a terrible, terrible couch because it loves me. It will just cuddle me and let me sit there and watch my TV and just, I hate my life. I hate my life. I hate my life. So yeah, for those folks who may not realize that, Your Mac Life is my job. And believe me, I said this before, if I could find advertisers, and I know there's a couple of listeners out there who's saying I should ask the listeners for help. Maybe there's an ad person out there. If there is, contact me. If I could sell advertising, I would. But I can't. I'm no good at it. I suck at the ad kind of stuff. Mosquito says, money buys peace of mind. Money means you don't have to stay awake at night worrying about where your next meal is coming from. Duh says, I teared up for the last part of last week. I never wanted to make anyone tear up or get emotional. It was certainly emotional for me, but I certainly didn't want to give any stress or anything like that to the audience. Because my mouse is disappearing, I can't click on things. This is so weird. Okay, hang on a second. On show. Normally I can just read these emails, but like I said, I don't want to give out names or anything else like that. I'm not qualified to comment on the clinical side of depression, but I certainly understand what it's like to be depressed or acutely anxious, whether it's money, health, work, or love. Those feelings can drive us to despair. I, too, often lie awake at night worrying about lack of money. I won't try and compare my own situation to yours, but it does allow me somewhat to understand how you might be feeling about this aspect of your depression. I constantly have to remind myself to be grateful for what I have and what pleasures in life do come for free. Family and friends have the biggest part to play here, so please don't ever feel there aren't plenty of people out there who would be delighted to spend time with you online or off. You've always worn your heart on your sleeve, and people who do the same appreciate this side of you. I try to communicate as much as possible, but this is where it gets weird from my listener side. Is too many emails might come across as obsessive or stalkerish. No, I don't think that at all. I don't think. I mean, if you're emailing me every 30 seconds, yes, that gets. But I love getting emails from listeners. Love getting emails from listeners. If you want to comment on the show or say, hey, Shawn, have you seen this? Or what are your thoughts about this stuff? I've always said I'd love to be able to do the show an hour a day, every day of the week. Just so I can hang out with you guys an hour a day, every day of the week. There are times when I don't look forward to the show. And those are the times when I'm feeling, an 7 or 8 on the depression scale. But most of the time, as we ramp up towards a Wednesday at 5:30, I get just more and more excited about hanging out with you guys, talking to you guys, listening to you guys, reading emails from you guys. So don't ever think that I don't want to bother Shawn by sending him an email. It's not a bother at all. He says, I won't prattle on any more than to say you've been on my lottery list for years. By this I mean, if I ever win big in the lottery, you're one of about a dozen people who'll be getting a surprise check in the mail. You know who you are. Thank you very much for that email. Again, another person whose name I'm not going to say. I was surprised to hear that you also have this problem. I was also surprised that so many others do as well. I think that's part of why I wanted to do last week's segment, is to let other listeners out there know a lot of us suffer from this in varying levels and varying ways. And it's not something that you should be ashamed of. It's not something that you should deal with by yourself, because it's way too hard to deal with by yourself, as I've learned in my research. This is a cold, wet blanket that just sucks you down into this pit, and you can't come out of it by yourself. You can't. If you have true depression, you cannot come out of it by yourself. You need help, whether it be chemical, whether it be online, whether it be friends, whether it be anything like that. If you feel this way, don't think you're going to come out of it by yourself. Reach out for someone to help you, whether it's religious, a pastor, whether it's a family member, whether it is a local clinic, whether it's online research and support groups. There are all kinds of places. And if you need some of that information, email me, Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. I'll pass on to you what I've learned and the things that I've read. You're a fine person, and you should do everything you can to get relief from the suffering that depression can bring. And I heard this from a lot of people. If you need to discuss this, please email. And I certainly appreciate that. I will name off a couple of people. And first of all, hang on, let me do this one. Thank you for your openness with Christina Warren. I had no idea, but I should have. You know this, but it's worth repeating. There are many that value you highly. I've come to love you as a friend who has always been there with a voice that is strident and brooks no nonsense in a world that needs it. I hope that's a comfort to you in troubled times. Please keep going. Thank you. That helps. There's no doubt about it. That kind of stuff absolutely helps. Mac Man, I was serious last week when I said if you ever need to blow off steam, all you have to do is say the magic words trash talk. Yeah, I think amplified next week, it's going to turn into trash talk. I think that's what we're going to do. I think we'll end up doing a trash talk. Just trying to follow up, catching up on what you guys were talking about in the IRC chat room. But big thanks out to Mike Medland for his PayPal donation, to Tim Simbura.com for your PayPal donation. And a huge thank you goes out to, where to go? Oh my God, please tell me I haven't lost this. Oh, come on. There's this one, where did it go? And with the email acting like this, okay, I'm going to go to my sent box. Sorry, I have to find this email. Come on, where is it? Stefan Branchen. Stefan, I don't know where you are. Your name's Branchen. I want to guess that's European. Sounds like Stefan is definitely a European name. Huge thanks to Stefan Branchen. Because of those three guys, I made rent this month. I've got enough money to make rent this month, and so my stress level is a lot less than it was before. So thank you guys very, very much for doing this. And because of that, because some folks came in with some nice donations, some wonderful donations, I'm going to pay it forward. I'm taking some of that money back because now I've got money to pay rent and buy food, extra money. I'm giving back. We're going to hand out we're going to hand out $50 to a lucky Your Mac Life listener. As always, go to our website at yourmaclifeshow.com. Right to the top of the page, it says Friends of YML entry form. Fill the entry form out. It sends me an email. I drop your name into our virtual hat, and maybe you'll win a prize. If you're a subscriber to Your Mac Life, and again, I would appreciate it if you did, $2, $5, $10, $15, whatever amount of money you can spare a month. It makes a difference. Believe me. Don't think that $2 doesn't make a difference. It really, really does. Again, if there was 4,000 people out there, $2 a month, significant. I'd be riding a motorcycle right now. Nah, maybe not. I should probably stay off dangerous things. Subscribe to Your Mac Life for $2, $5, $10, $15 a month, whatever it might be. It comes out of your credit card, it comes out of your PayPal account. You'll never worry about it ever again. And I drop your name into the virtual hat on your behalf, and you don't got to worry about it each month. But if you're not a subscriber, each month you have to fill out the form. It's not too much to ask. And if you're a subscriber, you get an extra entry form for every $2 that you subscribe. So if you subscribe for $4, you get 2 entry forms. $6, you get 3, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to go through this is a real pain. I'm going to go through the list of subscribers. Let me pull this one up. The subs. There we go. Okay. And now I'm going to scroll through. And when you get a chance, someone in the IRC, Brian Monroe, as always. No, someone else besides Brian. I'm teasing, Brian. That's fine. I'm teasing. This is going to go out to, wait for stops, Gary Wu. Gary Wu. Congratulations, Gary. It doesn't say where you're from. I'm going to assume you're, no, I don't assume because your last name is Wu. Don't be a jerk like that, Shawn. Gary Wu, you won $50. Congratulations. Send me an email. Let me know what your PayPal account name is. It's often different from the email on the website. So Gary Wu, I'll send you an email too to let you know about this. But we'll work things out. PayPal, or you can have it in an iTunes gift certificate if you're here in Canada, or we can do it via Amazon. However you want. $50. You want it cold hard cash, Canadian money? Send you 50. No, you can't email money, can you? Emailing money is stupid, isn't it? I would just think I'd email Gary 50 Canadian dollars. But if he's in the States, then it wouldn't be $50. But yeah, you really shouldn't email money, or sorry, postal mail money. That was stupid. Gary, no, never mind. I'm not mailing you money. See what else we got going on. I think that's it, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining us. I know I've got a bunch of emails. This will be, for those folks who were wondering, the last, for lack of a better term, depression segment. Unless something significant happens in the world. Just wanted to say, again, thanks to all those folks who did the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails I got from folks in tweets and direct messages and iMessages. And thank you. I can't say thank you enough. And you know what? I'll do it again this week. I did it last week. I'll do it again this week. I promise I'll be here on next week's show. I have to be because I got to do 5x5 amplified next Wednesday morning. So I got to be here for at least that. And don't forget, next Wednesday is double. What are we calling it? Double Dalrymple Day. Double dose of Dalrymple Day. Double dose Dalrymple Day. So four. Next Wednesday is officially 4D Day. I gotta get T-shirts made up. So amplified in the morning, and then Jim will be on later on. I want to say thanks very much to you guys, as always, for being involved in the show, whether you're listening to the archive or whether you're being tuned in live. I appreciate each and every one of our listeners. I wish I could give you all a great, big, huge hug. Just a big group hug. And have a beer with you all. Folks, as always, I've been Shawn King. Thank you guys very much for being tuned in. And you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!